Correct.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great week so far. Having a look at what's going on today, Bitcoin's actually up 2.25%. You see Ethereum up a little bit as well, but we are having a little bit of a sort of mixed vibe going on right now in the market. So I do want to discuss that because we were seeing Bitcoin dominance pull back a little bit, and recently it's going back up again. So the question is, what's going on with the altcoins? Well, we're going to talk about that, but I do want to specifically mention Bitcoin because you do notice yesterday we did have this dip down to $7,696, but we did rebound from that. However, we do have a situation, number one being that we did close out a red monthly candle. Today is October 1st, right? And the second being that we are still struggling to get above this 200 daily moving average. So that is definitely what I want to talk about short term, but I do want to specifically mention a analyst that has been quite bearish on Bitcoin who just recently flipped and said, I'm actually a little bit bullish right now. So we're going to discuss that, but obviously take it with a grain of salt. Also, we do have Mark Cuban basically saying he'd rather own bananas than gold or Bitcoin. And on top of that, Venezuela says cryptocurrency payments could be coming relatively soon. So if that sounds good to you, well, you know what to do. Also, if this is your first time checking out the Crypto Zombie channel and you're not subscribed, we do this every single day, so you definitely don't want to miss out. And super quick, before we get on with the video, I just want to give a shout out to Josh Rager. Thank you so much for coming on the channel yesterday. I appreciate everybody that came out and stopped by. And I just wanted to let you guys know, he is the advisor over at Level. And I wanted to actually bring this up because I think it's really cool what these guys are doing. And by the way, this isn't like sponsored or anything like that, but like on Coinbase, like right now, if you want to go try to buy something on Coinbase, you want to buy some Bitcoin, right? Get to the very end of the screen, right before the confirmation, right before you click buy, and then check out the current market price. You're going to notice that these guys, they increase the price of Bitcoin. It's really shady how this stuff happens. So over at Level, it's essentially just $9 a month. And you can see over here, they actually have a comparison of the fees right here. So if you were to trade on average $1,000 a month, and let's say you did 10 trades, that would be upwards of $200 on Coinbase, $25 on Coinbase Pro, and $10 on Binance. So even at just a minimum like that, you could see, and you could do this slider, and see for yourself essentially what the fees would be. But the reason I'm bringing this up, guys, is because if you do want to join, you have to actually have a referral. You need to have a referral link. It's basically like Nash, how you had to be referred by somebody. So if you guys want, you can do co/zombie. And the way that you'll notice that you do have confirmation is it'll go from this color to this color. Okay, so essentially once it turns pink, Just wanted to point that out, guys. You don't have to use it, but you do need to get a referral from somebody. So if you don't want to use mine, you can use somebody else's, okay? Just want to let you guys know that. So just friendly, everybody wants to save on fees. Nobody likes paying fees, right? So you are noticing that Bitcoin dominance has gone up 0.1% since just this morning. Tether actually breaking completely even. But the one thing that I want to show you guys real quick is, as you do see, there's a decent amount of green scrolling down. If we switch it to the Bitcoin comparative, you are noticing a lot more red. So what this is telling me today is essentially Bitcoin is leading the rally, and the altcoins are sort of just being dragged up percentage-wise, but they're not being dragged up Satoshi-wise, which is essentially what I'm after. I'm looking to accumulate more Bitcoin, but we do have some altcoins up today. Crypterium 32%, Holo 13%, Hedge Trade, Zcoin, Monocoin, Redcoin, ABBC, Chainlink, Factom, Icon, Cosmos. So it's a decent day for the altcoins, actually. We are seeing an all right amount of volume. It's still a little bit lower than what I would like to see moving forward, less than 500 million. Actually, Tether is really the one putting in the volume today at 706 million. Fear and Greed sitting at about 38. But let's talk about the fact that we closed a monthly candle red in an uptrend. We have never done this before in a bull run. So is that it? Should we throw in the towel? Is it back to the bear market, guys? I mean, listen, past performance doesn't necessarily indicate future results, right? But we have had a nice green day so far at the open of the month. I'll take it, even though it's only the first day. But essentially, you could see right here, we had to close above 9,593, and we closed at 8,298. So there you go. That's a first for basically what's been happening with the charts. But we are still held underneath that 200 daily moving average. You can see we cannot close above it. Now, we have been supported nicely by this downwards trend. You see we wick down there, we wick down there. So it's not like Bitcoin's doing anything completely irrational today. But the thing is if we go on the lower time frames, we have had a few closes on the 4-hour above the 200 daily, but we can't seem to break above it and hold above it, especially close above it on a daily candle. But we are noticing that this $8,187 support has been holding quite nicely. In fact, getting back to, see, we had this triangle right here, but essentially what we started initially was this sort of downwards channel, and you could see that we wicked down perfectly to the support both times, and we are holding above that blue box territory right around that sort of $8,000 level. Now, what we spoke about yesterday was the possibility of Bitcoin going down to $3,000. The reason that we brought this up is because Alessio Rastani had actually put out a video saying that there may have been that potential, right? And I do want to talk about that today. Could Bitcoin actually go down to $3,000? You know, he's saying that we hit this euphoria stage, and then, you know, you go down to anxiety, denial, fear, depression, panic, etc., and then we have a $3,000 Bitcoin. Well, first and foremost, let me just tell you why I don't think that we're going to have a $3,000 Bitcoin, because a lot of people are saying, what if this is just a giant continuation of a massive downtrend that we started from the all-time high, and we're still just in a bear market, and all of this was just a giant fake out? Well, let's have a look at the 200 weekly moving average that you can see has clearly supported Bitcoin way down here at the bottom at the end of the bear in December of essentially 2014. We pumped all the way above it, and when we fell again, okay, as you can see right here, we got that support at the $3,150 level. We instantly bounced back up again, and currently, as you can see right here, the 200 weekly is sitting at $4,580, which is why I do not think we are going to go below $4,580 ever, which just invalidates 3K. But those are incredibly low levels, okay? We're still above 8,000, so we don't really need to be talking about $3,000 levels just yet. I think really we need to be looking at the levels that we're currently sitting at, and having a look at the VPVR, you could see that at the $7,900 level right here, which is where we put in all of this accumulation back here when we pumped around May 13th, we have only wicked below it, but we have respected that support. And this is a area of support for buyers and sellers and traders in general, right? So the next level that we're looking to get above, and this is the level that Josh Rager was speaking about yesterday on the channel, is this green line right here, essentially the $8,735 level, or the 8.8K level. You know, you can round it if you want. And that was the level that he said he was going to be putting in a massive long. Now, not financial advice. That's not what I'm saying. That's what he's saying. And the reason that he said that is because you notice after that level, the VPVR basically drops to non-existent and then, you know, starts to gradually increase as we get to that $10,162 level again, where we had massive buyer interest. Okay. So basically, what am I trying to say? Well, short term, getting above $8,800, extremely bullish. And then if we can break above the $10,160 level, that would be very, very good for Bitcoin short term. Okay. But the one thing that I did want to point out is that we have, if you're using Heiken Ashi candles, which I do like them sometimes, I don't use them all the time, but they're good for showing market movements. You can see right here, you know, we put in all green and then red, green and then red. So it's not as choppy as just looking at red and green candles. And you can see right here, since we started to put in a red candle on September 21st and we just had this massive drop, for the first time ever, we're actually attempting to close the day with a green candle. So this might signal, potentially it could signal a trend reversal. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Look right here, we had one and then continued with red, okay? But it could be a positive indicator that we should keep our eyes on moving forward. But, you know, there's a lot of negative sentiment in the market. I'm just going to be honest. And this happens every single time. Why do I have the GoPro chart up? I'll tell you in a second. But, you know, I've been looking at these markets now for 2 years straight. I've been in crypto before that. And I got to tell you, every single time we have the 40% pullback or something like that, it instantly turns into doom and gloom. And then the next thing you know, we have a 40%, 60% pump. And then suddenly we're going back to the moon, okay? Guys, stop being so emotional with the markets. You know, that's definitely how you're going to get wrecked on the trades. And, you know, I saw somebody post on Reddit comparing what happened to Bitcoin from 2017 to this GoPro chart. And I just wanted to look at this real quick because I thought it was something to entertain. You can see GoPro came out, it had its first pump to $86, then it had that dump essentially down to the 3K level. That's what it would be like with Bitcoin. It had the pump up again to $63, which would be like the 14K level. And now they're saying, is that it? And we're just destined for just absolute doom and gloom, and that's it. Well, I do want to just point out that we really are used to seeing these massive run-ups and, you know, run-ups and then subsequent subsequent dumps for Bitcoin. And like Tom Lee said, he said, before everyone starts freaking out whether crypto winter is over, reminder that Fundstrat's rule of 10 best days, or just reminder of that rule. Essentially, they're saying there's like 10 best days to trade during the year, and then the other times are really not that great. Now, I think 10 is just sort of an arbitrary number, but if you do sort of have a look, you do notice that, we had this run up here. This was an amazing time to, be in Bitcoin. Essentially, it was just a crazy, crazy run up. This is a little more than 10 days, but my point is, you could see over here, then we just kind of went sideways and choppy, but the reality is that these types of markets, even though they can be boring, they still do provide a lot of opportunity for traders, especially if you're using margin trading, because don't forget, you can make money when Bitcoin goes up, but you could also you can make money when Bitcoin goes down by shorting it, right? But nevertheless, you will notice that even up here, we did have this massive run up in these 10 days. But the thing that I kind of want to point out in general is with Bitcoin, I don't really know if Bitcoin necessarily has bad days, so to speak, because, this is one of my favorite charts to bring up. And the blue zone essentially represents any time that you could have bought Bitcoin and you would have been in profit. And you can see right here recently, it's essentially only been up here during the crazy, bull run of 2017 that you would have really had, a bad trade, I guess. And then just recently where we've been coming down. But guys, if you look at every time Bitcoin goes up and down, we always put in new highs. So I just want to point that out. If you don't want to do the whole crazy trading thing, I know it can be hectic, but dollar cost averaging, even though I know right now, if you're new to crypto, seems like it's not working, hindsight, trust me, is always 2020, but I have a hunch we're going to go a lot higher. And you know who else does? Senior analyst Mike McClone, okay? Over at Bloomberg Intelligence, he says that he is feeling bullish on Bitcoin. He says Bitcoin hit its first solid support zone since May, and CMA Group's launch of Bitcoin options early next year should help trigger a new rally in the long run. He says the price has dipped into the first good support zone since the May breakout. So when Bitcoin right here in orange rallied above the $6,500 level, it signaled a recovery. This level is now about the 52-week average, and that's the white line right there. So 8,000 to 6,500 is good support area. The first good resistance is now about 10,500. Options will begin trading next year, so responsive long-term positions appear warranted. And this is coming from Mike McClone, who at one point was calling for a 1K Bitcoin, okay? So he has recently sort of changed his tune and has flipped bullish. Now, I do want to have a look at this realistically. A lot of people are comparing, this giant triangle to the triangle that we just had, right? Now, when we fell back in November at the end of the year in 2018, we actually put in a 50% drop to the bottom, okay? Currently, from this drop right here, we only fell about 24%. We fell a lot higher from the top, but I'm not talking about the top, because if we go from top to bottom, we know we fell 84%. So currently, we fell about 44% from top to bottom, but only 24% from the time that we fell out. So some people are saying that we have to emulate this. We have to fall the full 50%. Well, I basically put the line right here, guys. And as you can see, 50% essentially brings us right to, a little bit more, but essentially right to this $5,000 level. So is a $5,000 Bitcoin possible? Anything is possible, but it's not likely, okay? But I just want to let you know that if you do think we're going to put in a 50% pull, then we could dump down to something like that. But I don't think we'll go that low. But either way, having a look, you could see that after we fell, we had a massive recovery. So, even if we do, come down here for some crazy, crazy reason, and touch this, there's a good chance that we will have, some kind of a massive spike after that, right? So that's basically the situation moving forward. But zooming in right here, you will notice that we are still struggling to get above this average. So we really need to get above that 200 daily moving average. I think that would make it very bullish for a lot of people in the short term. But I also want to talk about market sentiment, because we have had a lot of really bad sentiment in the market, right? Doom and gloom. We're going to zero. And I just wanted to point out the sentiment chart that we had right here. And any time that we tend to dip below 7, Bitcoin has sort of a major move, right? And currently we are sitting well below 7. In fact, we're sitting at around 0.3. And you can see right here, out of the last 14 times that we actually dipped below this, only 3 of them did Bitcoin's price actually go down, with 2 of them being relatively neutral, where Bitcoin didn't really do anything, right? So the other 9 times, it was a good buy, right? So it's basically saying right now that Bitcoin is a good buy. Now, I'm not telling you to go buy Bitcoin, but you know how I feel about it. Currently looking at this charts, 9 out of the last 14 times, it turned out to be a decent buy. So you let me know about that. But speaking of buying Bitcoin, Ben Askren, you may be familiar with him. He says someone gives you $10,000 that you can't touch for 10 years. Would you rather have a $10,000 gift in gold, Bitcoin, or a US Treasury bond? And you can see here that this actually 50% said Bitcoin. Now, the reason that I actually not take this with a grain of salt, I should say, is because this actually had 64,185 votes. And a lot of these polls that you even see from these like bigger, firms and stuff, they're only doing sample sizes of like 1,000, 2,000 people. So this is 64,000 people that voted, and half of them say they would rather put their money in Bitcoin. So that's definitely telling me something about how people, the average, the general public is actually viewing Bitcoin right now as an investment vehicle. But you know who doesn't like Bitcoin? Mark Cuban. In fact, he says that he would rather own bananas. Yes, he said that. You can read it down here. He would rather own bananas instead of Bitcoin or gold. But I just do want to remind you guys really quick, just kind of going back to August 17th of last year, Mark Cuban did back an ICO, Unicorn, and it was hit with a class action lawsuit. So maybe he got a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth. You can see right here, Unicorn Gold. It is up 3% on the day, but it's still down 99% from its all-time high. So maybe that has something to do with why Mark has a bad taste in his mouth for the space. But that being said, talking about some serious news, we have seen some crackdown on Bitcoin miners. For example, Uzbekistan has announced plans to increase tax on cryptocurrency mining facilities up to over 300% of what it is right now. And this comes after they announced a crackdown on mining farms. So you may see this as a trend. You may see miners getting taxed because of the energy usage, right? However, just without even going into too much detail, I do want to mention that a lot of miners have been flipping to try to go more green, looking for solar, wind, other types of solutions, hydro, right? So I do want to just mention that it's not like the miners aren't aware of this situation, right? They are trying to do something about it. But really quick, talking about the Bitcoin dominance, you notice that we are once again trying to push above the 70% level. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, now that we kind of got on the topic of altcoins, I just wanted to point out that both Bitcoin and Ethereum have kind of been leading today's rally, I would say, as far as the higher coins go. And you can see that I was talking about accumulation between the $153 to $180 level. And currently we are having a little bit of a struggle with resistance right there. But I still do think that once we break out of this, I think that, this would have essentially been the time to accumulate Ethereum. So, I am looking at other altcoins right now. Altcoins have been hit pretty hard. And, is now the time to be accumulating altcoins? Well, if you do believe in them and you think that they have some strong fundamentals, I'm not going to tell you which ones to invest in, but could be a good time to be accumulating some altcoins. Speaking of altcoins, New Balance is looking to use Cardano technology to fight counterfeits. So I assume this is essentially just going to work like, basically where you can, scan the tags, supply chain logistics, stuff like that, verify it. There's been a lot of fraud, fake shoes, fake bags, everything like that. So I think that's essentially what they're getting involved in, but looks pretty good, guys. Also, I just want to let you guys know BlockONE, they're the guys that are behind EOS. They put this out. They said they reached a civil settlement with the US SEC in connection with the company's sale of their ERC20 EOS token before it became native. Essentially, they're going to pay a one-time fee of $24 million. They're saying they're not admitting or denying it. They're just going to pay the fine, which for a $4 billion ICO, do you think they care about $24 million? I think they got off pretty damn easy. So yeah, that's the situation. But it says the settlement resolves all ongoing matters between BlockONE and the SEC. So yeah, I guess as long as you got the money, right? What's the saying? Don't ask for permission or something, ask for forgiveness later. Well, raise a $4 billion ICO and then pay a $24 million fine. Who cares, right? So that being said, Binance will be shut down in 12 months. What? Well, this is coming from Bitcoin SV's Calvin Ayre. I'm sure he's still a little bit upset about the fact that Bitcoin SV got delisted. There has been a lot of controversy lately over Binance. Not that I really care too much about it. I can't even trade on it. I can't even trade on Binance US because I'm in New York, so I haven't really been paying much attention to the Binance news. But you can see that they did have a bit of a Binance shakeout, they say. They delisted a bunch of altcoin pairs over here. They said they did it to improve liquidity. You can see right here all the pairs that they delisted. BitTorrent was one of them with Bitcoin. Some people were making some speculation about that. Also, the fact that Binance became the #1 Tron super representative. They bought 12 billion TRX, and they're saying they've been voting for themselves. This is another thing that's been going on. There's about 1/6 of the total TRX supply in circulation. So they're saying now that it's been locked up and taken off the market, is this a good thing for the price? Let me know what you think about that below, guys. But speaking of exchanges, coinexchange.io is closing down. That's really all I have to say about that. If you are using it, please get your funds off. It's not hacked or anything like that. They're just closing it down. So just get your funds off. You shouldn't have your funds on exchanges anyway. But also talking about Venezuela, you have President Nicolas Maduro. He basically said that the finance minister and Venezuela's central banks have now instruments which will activate very soon, as he puts it, that will allow anyone to basically do banking transactions with cryptocurrency, okay? Remember just last week, they said that they were exploring adding cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin and Ether, to their international reserves. And finally, ending on some good news, because we got to get on out of here, but I don't want to end on a bad note. Wyoming Blockchain Coalition President Caitlin Long has hinted at 2 new prospective state laws that she believes will be highly popular among cryptocurrency developers and owners. I actually think this is really cool. So according to her, the first of the one basically says anyone in the state of Wyoming cannot be compelled in a criminal or civil or administrative or legislative hearing or any other proceeding to disclose their private keys. So in Wyoming, you do not have to ever disclose your private keys ever. It is perfectly legal to keep your private keys to yourself, as should be, and I hope that other states adopt this as well. And the second is more for developers. It would bolster protections for open source devs and ensure that they cannot be prosecuted solely on the basis of misuse of the code they have written, right? So essentially what they're saying is if somebody wants to build, like building Ethereum or building Tron, right? So let's say there's gambling stuff or there's like Ponzi type stuff that's built on top of Ethereum. Is that Vitalik's fault? That's basically what they're trying to say. We just built the platform. If you decided to build some nefarious dApp on top of it, we're not going to be held basically eligible for that. And also just having a look at the volume of the CME. It's 3 this morning. Let's give it a quick refresh. It's 5. So yeah, Bakkt is a little bit underwhelming. Damn it, I said we were going to end on a good note. So yes, all this good news from Wyoming. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for checking out, coming back to the channel. I really do appreciate it. As I said, guys, before with the whole level thing, if you are interested in joining, currently, like, for example, I'm in New York, so I can't even sign up. I can't even trade right now because I am on the waiting list. But you do notice that they do use BitGo. They are FDIC insured and FINRA regulated. So it's not like these guys are not legit. They are legit. And hopefully once they allow me to start trading, or start buying, I will, and I'll let you know how my experience goes. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. Seriously, I appreciate it. Let's have one more look, see what Bitcoin's trying to do. So we're still just struggling right around this sort of $8,300, $8,400 level. But that being said, guys, I hope you're having an incredible week so far. Genuinely appreciate it. Don't forget, if you guys want to win the Ledger Nano S, we give away every Monday. All you got to do is drop a comment below. And I do appreciate you guys using all the referral links. They do help to support the channel, but I